Recording is on.
Welcome to DXgov governance discussion for Wednesday, November 17th, 1600 UTC. I'm going to start with the governance, with the proposal roundup. Let me share my screen here. So a bunch of proposals, a really kind of busy day across kind of a busy week, across mainnet and XDAI. So just starting with mainnet here, we have the DX Lisbon contributor stipend and funds amendment. This is the mainnet proposal. There was also the corresponding XI proposal, and this makes a small adjustment for the $200 in COVID testing related fees, and then also some for the stipend for travel there. And so that's set to pass, I think, in the next 2 days, and other people have already been claiming their stipends for that. Next up is the send $3 million swapper to the multi-chain, multi-sig for XDAI and Arbitrum farming, airdrops and single-sided staking. So this is kind of both a simple proposal that does a couple of things. So you can see there's really 6 different places that the swapper would go. So first and foremost, this is being sent to the multi-chain, multi-sig. So this is a one that has been deployed and used a little bit on XDAI, but the big advantage here is that you can we have the same address across chains there, and so you can see here the 6 different places. So the first is sending swapper to XDAI, and that'll actually be sent to the farming relayer itself, and that will go across, I believe, the next 7 epochs there on XDAI. And then there's a 1.3 million swapper to refund the swapper wallet scheme on Arbitrum 1. And so that's just for these epochs there, but that actually ends up matching up with the XDAI epochs. And I believe these would refill it, I think, until the end of February. So we'd have to do another re-up sometime in January or early February for the scheduled farming campaigns that have been going on. And then we have 244,000 swapper to fund the distribution to smart contracts on mainnet, and then 292,000 to fund the swapper airdrop correction on Arbitrum. And so just a recap of these two, the smart contract wallets were missed out on the initial swapper airdrop because they couldn't be on Arbitrum. So this swapper is to airdrop to smart contract wallets that held DXD, the swapper that they were due to get into the initial airdrop, and so this will be distributed on mainnet. And then separately, there is additional swapper for the airdrop correction, and I believe this has to do with some of the some of the wallets did not get the same amount, I think, if they were LPing in a certain place. So this gives those swapper again to refund those. And then the last 2, which we can get to a little bit later, are potential extra swapper to be sent for single-sided staking on XDAI and Arbitrum 1. We still have not had a signal proposal for that, but this would send these to the 2 bases to be able to conduct those if we did move forward with those. And as I said, we can get to that later. So any questions, comments on kind of all of these different swapper transfers going on here? I should say we're trying to figure out bridging to Arbitrum 1 maybe tricky through the multi-sig, but we're exploring that. Cool. And then next up is mainnet. On the mainnet base is a transfer of 150 ETH to XDAI for the DXD buyback. Dave, you want to kind of outline what's in this proposal and what makes it a little unique or different than past?
Sure. So, well, I guess this proposal is a bit different than previous proposals in that it actually deposits the WEF directly into the GP relayer. So just to give a very brief overview, to post orders on GPv1, we need a GP relayer. And on mainnet, of course, to post orders, we have to fund it and then actually pass an order, which posts the order on GPV1. Obviously, given that on mainnet we have all the funds in the treasury, we always posted a funding proposal and then a proposal that actually posts the order. And when we moved to XDAI, we pretty much just adopted the same system because it's how we always did it, right? But given that the Ether is already moving, it's probably, or at least I believe so, much more pragmatic to deposit that Ether directly in the GP relayer. And that means that the DAO actually only has to pass a proposal posting the order. So given that the funds are already authorized for buyback and they're meant exclusively for that, it actually makes sense because it clogs. I mean, I think clogging is maybe not the correct terminology here, but you have a lot less proposals in the given scheme, right? So if we're doing daily buybacks and they take 4 days to pass, or 5 if you're taking the boosting time, you always kind of have 5 contributor proposals, I believe they're called, on XDAI Live, right? Which also increases the amount of gen you need to stake, or DXD in the future. So it removes all of that by just depositing it directly in the relayer. And other than that, nothing really changes. We'll just be posting the orders, which are posted under the multi-call scheme on XDAI, which is rarely used anyway. So I guess it just makes it much more efficient, given that the funds are already allocated to that, rather than always having to post proposals. And it makes the posting of proposals a lot easier as well, as you just have to post one proposal and then boost it. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions. I know it's not the most exciting topic in the world, but just wanted to give a bit of an overview, as there is something in the process changing, I guess is a good way to put it.
And of course, XDXDAO can at any time withdraw the ETH from the GP relayer through proposals itself. So that, you know, it isn't directly in the treasury, but it is still in control of XDXDAO. Cool. And then back to Dave, or Fluid Drop, for Decentral Labs. So Dave, this is a little bit different proposal, so maybe you wanted to give a little background on this.
Sure. So, well, I believe my first proposal already passed on XDAI, so some of you might have already heard the alpha. But really, I've just come around to forming a legal entity, and so my future worker proposal will be submitted by Decentral Labs. Not really much more to it than that. So I like Chris going right into the IPFS link. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So you just expect to see fewer, or rather no, proposals from Fluid Drop anymore. He has been put to rest, and the future proposals will come through Decentral Labs.
I think it's a cool name.
And of course, I own the ENS domain dlabs.eth.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was looking at. You look, it's actually submitted by dlabs.eth, which, you know, that's a 5-letter ENS domain name, so that's desirable.
I didn't want to flex, but as you bring it up, yeah. And funnily enough, I transferred that ENS domain to my new wallet a couple of hours before they took the snapshot for the ENS airdrop. So lucky me.
Cool. And then the last proposal on mainnet is a rep sync from Sky. Not loading right now, but you can see here on the IPFS link, these are 3 proposals that passed on XDAI, and he's syncing them on mainnet. It looks actually like we need to get a boost from there. I can do that after this.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You know, I was trying to go by example of doing this, but it is, you know, it's going to cost. I was calculating it like total. I mean, ETH lower now, so maybe, and I was doing it with low gas prices, but it's still like, you know, $800 or something total by the time you get done with this kind of rep thing. But I think mainnet is becoming far off of what it should be, and what it's not tied closely with like what mainnet rep should be how it should be distributed. And so if you're not doing this every quarter or maybe every 6 months or something, it's hard to do like analysis on distribution of rep and all that kind of stuff too. So I think it's important to do, even though it's a little expensive. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it's. Well, I was just going to say, I think what Dave did was also interesting. I think is like combining proposals, and it's like what I'm planning to do. Not just combining months and proposals, but like I need to get a refund for launching or for deploying the swapper ETH pool on mainnet, and so in that proposal, I can also like get other reimbursements for other things in addition to doing a rep sync. So sometimes combining proposals can be good there. But yeah.
Yeah,
and of course, these are all refunded on mainnet, and this is an important thing. So, yeah, I think people should be encouraged.
But like in general, when we're asking for refunds, in general, you probably ask for most refunds or reimbursements or things on XDAI, right? Normally,
right? But I mean, that's typically. I mean, the expense itself was incurred on mainnet, right? It's kind of like gas refunds, and it was like, so I mean, I think that was the reason I was going to do that one there. But maybe it's also like, I mean, again, it's just like kind of combining proposals in a way. Like, what can we do that combine different things, and you can.
That's an interesting idea. Is if it's a little tricky, but given that we do like mainnet gas refunds once a quarter, I think it is, right? Is that right, Dave?
Yeah.
Like there could be a 2-week submission period where all contributors like propose reimbursements to like a collection area, and then Dave includes those in the overall refund, because the governance refund method is like the cheapest, most efficient way to get money from mainnet, because the mainnet is one proposal that goes to like this contract, and then you can then go claim for pretty cheap from that contract, right? Not many people do it. Like maybe 10 people get governance refunds, which is a little odd. I mean, you have to have a certain amount to make it worth it, I guess. But you could do like batches of reimbursements through that same mechanism tied on top of it. It makes it a little messier, but it's a way to like do a massive, cheaper distribution on mainnet of refunds and reimbursements.
Yeah, and maybe a bigger discussion, but it does make me think about when we are doing literally reimbursements where that it means there is like an off ramp, and that a lot of people are getting those bridging costs themselves, or how are people doing it? So I think it is, because this is something that everyone deals with, either as a contributor or like DXDAO is dealing with as it's like doing reimbursements. We should be thinking about like how this really like transaction costs, we can minimize it.
Also, just interjecting a bit late on what Sky said about the rep as well. When I calculate my rep I will get from a proposal, I take mainnet rep as well, right? As a reference, I go to the rep contract and I see total issued rep. But this also excludes all the rep that has been issued on XDAI, which if people haven't synced it up, right, it's not going to show there. So actually, if everyone else is also using that same method, we're also technically getting a lot less rep, right? Because once people sync up, they'll actually inflated by a lot, which was not taken into account when you actually calculate how much rep you'll get in your proposal. Which, I mean, it's not like this is a urgent thing to solve, but it's also one thing to keep in mind, I guess.
So I guess I think I might explain this a bit more later as well. But with the new contributor proposal thing on DXvote, like the new UI for getting funds from the quick wallet scheme, it's actually taking XDAI rep and calculating it automatically. I don't know what our thoughts around that are. I'd assumed that it'd be best to calculate from XDAI, since that's kind of where we're issuing the new scheme solves this. It solves a lot of things. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we can take it from mainnet also. It would just be a change, but I don't know if it makes more sense for us, since we know XDAI is always going to be more up to date, to take the issuing rep from there. Don't know what thoughts on that are.
Yeah, I missed this part in Chris's presentation about cross-chain governance at the Daoist. What was the solution to this one, Chris?
LOL.
Yeah, that's the things to work on in the future.
Yeah, I mean, like, so the issue with that is that we were treating like mainnet as the main kind of like the main focus of the DAO, which makes sense, I think, because that's where it started and most of the capital is. And like certain things you do on XDAI are eligible to like get rep on, so like all the worker proposals. But I think in theory, we were leaving the possibility open that you could do things that are local to XDAI that would earn you XDAI rep, but not be like redeemable for mainnet rep. I think in practice, that probably hasn't really happened yet.
I think it's happened the other way around with Dave getting almost 2% on mainnet rewards, right?
Yeah.
Mainnet localized rep.
Well, I mean, the problem here is like mainnet is effectively becoming like unusable, right? Or like it's just the cost is driving away like all the activity. So yeah, it's an issue.
Yeah, but because XDAI total rep is a lot less than mainnet, Ross, you using XDAI rep is actually
XDAI lower?
Yeah, it's even worse. It's much lower than if you used an uninflated, an uncorrect mainnet rep.
It's definitely lower, but it's not that much. Like it's not like double or triple, but it is lower for sure.
Oh,
it's lower because
it was higher.
It's lower because a lot of the smart contract addresses didn't make it over. So the starting point for the XDAI base was actually like significantly lower than what was on mainnet at the time.
Oh, interesting.
But of course, like as people earn more rep, right, like that's inflating the total rep. So like if people are only redeeming that on XDAI and not on mainnet because of the costs, now like XDAI is on a trajectory to get bigger than mainnet, even though in theory we don't want it to be like it should be reflected on mainnet, or like ideally we would have it reflected on mainnet.
So we actually just implemented, it's not available yet, it should be once we release today, a new feature in DXgov where if you hover over the minting rep amount, it shows you the rep percentage as of the time the proposal was created. And I was going through some of the like recent, because I had a huge batch of people doing their proposals. And I think I might need to double check because I didn't look at it in great detail, but I think most of them are actually above 0.1667%, going off of XDAI rep.
That's
because they use mainnet rep. Everyone has kind of explicitly said mainnet rep.
Oh, okay, no, that doesn't make
sense. Right, because like that's kind of the I mean, because basically, not to like say like, I mean, what has value? Like XDAI has some funds, and so that is valuable. But like the real value of DXDAO comes from the things that are on mainnet, and so that's kind of what people and the contributors really are earning is that mainnet rep, and so that's why people are requesting it through XDAI on the proposals. But we're missing that kind of like extra link to sync it to get people to do it, but really like it is like the mainnet rep is kind of the key distribution.
There's a protocol that supports Arbitrum, XDAI chain, and Ethereum mainnet, and it offers gasless transactions. They do it. One use case is when you airdrop in a token, and if you want people to claim it and not, postpone it if they think gas will be too expensive, those whitelisted addresses that are due to receive the airdrop are included to claim it, and their gas transaction is covered by the contract. And we could possibly use them to whitelisted addresses, active reputation holders, and allow them to, put proposals on mainnet and not incur any gas and not wait to be reimbursed later on. They just don't pay at all.
Yeah, something. Yeah, a lot of things to kind of explore here. So maybe it'd be good to follow up. But yeah, maybe let's keep going because we actually do have a bunch of stuff on XDI.
Ross, does this mean that your rep asks in your proposals are incorrect?
Potentially, yes.
They're just a little too low. So we've had that before, and you can top it up later. But
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, okay, should we? I guess maybe at a different point, should we talk about what happens if XDI becomes larger? Should we start using XDI rep as, like, should we continue using mainnet as the main source of what we're minting percentage-wise?
I think we need to maybe have like take it as like a side action here and like get some people to think through it, because there's a syncing issue, and it's not, there's no like easy answer. Like we got to think through like how to best manage it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool. And then on XDI, bunch of proposals. So first up is this is about to pass in 3 hours. This is the audit of the staking contracts of V2. So this is by the Omega team, which is some former DAO stock folks. And so I think we're fortunate to get them on the auditing front there. And so, yeah, this is set to pass with a pretty healthy percentage there in the next couple hours.
Yeah, I'm glad people are voting there just to give them a warm welcome. It's obviously like a big need auditing, and it's still a bottleneck even with them. So great to have them working with us. And I mentioned this on the dev call yesterday, but it's on my to-do list to put up a post in DAO Talk to kind of like estimate basically what I think the budget will need to be for auditing costs over the next year. And like one of the things I'm doing now is trying to line up a time with some of the bigger firms, because they're all very booked out. Like Consensus Diligence is saying like now that if you talk to them today, you won't be able to get anything until August of next year. So, I mean, I talked to them a little bit earlier, so I'm hoping we'll be able to book some time in Q2. But yeah, I mean, that's how crazy auditing demand is right now. And I don't see it going away anytime soon, even if we were to like go into a bear market. So I think the approach needs to be booking way ahead of time. And I'll look for a post with more details on that.
Cool. And then there are two current buyback proposals. I think a third one is expected in the next couple hours, and so these will be the last ones that have the the multi proposal approach that has a separate funding one. And so starting, I think on Friday or Thursday when we submit those proposals, by the time those pass, the WETH from the mainnet transfer proposal will be in the GP relayer, and so we can go from there. But yeah, there's two live and one coming today. And then yeah, I think there's a couple different proposals regarding the quick wallet scheme. So I think we can talk with Ross and Augusto about this. But kind of first and foremost, the quick wallet scheme is actually only on DXvote. So you actually can't see proposals through the quick wallet scheme yet on Alchemy. So I know a lot of people are checking Alchemy. So it's really important that we are kind of checking DXvote now as things are happening there. And so I think there are 4 proposals in the quick wallet scheme. I can sort this here. 2 from Ross and 2 from Augusto. And so these are both of their worker proposals. And then there is a separate proposal to move funds to the quick wallet scheme, basically to be able to execute those proposals. And so I think it's 25,000 wrapped XDAI and 25 DXD, because the exciting thing about the quick wallet scheme and the work being done there is it has the DXD vesting contracts with it on XDAI, as well as having DXD vesting. So Ross, Augusto, kind of thoughts about the current proposals or things about the quick wallet scheme you've been thinking and want to share?
Yeah, sure. So this is we've already tested with small funds, but this is kind of the first time actually using this. So I mean, my proposals are pretty out of date, just because I stubbornly was waiting for the quick wallet scheme to be ready, and didn't think about how long it would actually take. So I don't know if you could scroll down a bit, Chris. Currently, there's an issue with how we're fetching the ABI for the vesting contract creation. So it's showing network error now, but in the update that we're going to release today, it'll actually show it calling the correct contract there. So it's doing 4 things. There's, first of all, it's minting rep, which is currently pulled off the total for XDAI, which I now know is maybe not correct. But so we can fix that. We can actually just pull it from mainnet using an RPC. We don't do that anywhere currently, but it shouldn't be too difficult if in future we want to do that. We can talk about that in the future. And then transfers, transfers stablecoins, just usual, wrapped XDAI. It then approves DXD, and then the call after that is creating the vesting contract, which isn't showing up properly right now. But this is everything that's happening in the new contributor proposals. So you'll actually get your DXD vested, and so that's kind of exciting. We still need to go back and backdate everything, obviously, for the ones that haven't been done yet. But once this passes, we can get some more funds into the quick wallet scheme and get everyone using it, and that should be good.
So Ross, even though that you get those errors, those are just display errors. Those are like
So the way we were, because it's another contract that wasn't supported the usual way we do things. We were relying on essentially Block Scout's API, and it stopped working on DXvote.eth.link. We're getting CARS errors where we didn't previously. So there's a fix for that I just did this afternoon, just adding it manually, essentially.
If you expand with the magnifying glass, you get a cooler, detailed view.
Yeah, so you can go and see the call data. It's not very readable, obviously, but you could decode that and go to the contract and work out what it's doing.
About the parameters, can we have the name of the field show as well? Because sometimes if it's a proposal that has several addresses involved, they may be the correct addresses, but we are not able to confirm whether we've added them in the correct order. You could have pasted the right address, but in the wrong field and misplaced two different addresses. And when you look at the parameters, you cannot confirm that because you don't know which is which.
I mean, the issue is that you don't actually know what the parameters are, even if you have the ABI. It just shows you like what the order of them are. Like in the code, it shows up as just the parameters and the order of them. So we can manually have that and like create a sentence that explains what it's doing and sort of decoding it manually that way. But it's not quite as simple as that because the code we get from the APIs doesn't include the name of what it's actually doing.
For some schemes, I think they show up in Alchemy, but for others, maybe not.
Yeah, it's something we could look at doing. Geronimo, I don't know if Geronimo was here, but the new guild UI and what we'll eventually use for DXvote actually displays it in a lot nicer way as well. It's just a lot simpler to read. So that it might not be such an issue there. There's some color coordinated things going on. It's very nice.
Keenan is asking about, guys, whether this creates like an accounting nightmare. I guess would we be able to use this in any way to like do the DXD vesting for the past ones? Or is that going to be like, is there anything we can like leverage from that?
It's just we can't use the exact thing we're using here, like the UI for it, but we now can create vesting contracts through DXvote. So yeah, in theory, we can do that. It might be a slight accounting issue in that you'll have to manually check, but I guess it kind of just pushes us to do the sync sooner rather than later, so we get caught up.
Can we set the time of the contract, how long it will run, or is this hard coded?
Nope. Well, it's hard coded in the like current UI, but we can change that if we need to.
Okay.
Currently, all the contracts are the same, and so it just starts from the start date. But if we're creating them, we can create custom ones. We could even put an override in future in the current UI.
Keenan, do you actually request or get your DXT?
No, the new system, you input the DXT to create the vesting contract.
Oh,
I request it, but I
just
noticed that
started doing it. Yeah.
yeah, it did like a 1 month period automatically auto-filled. And I would expect that the DXT vesting would start at the end of the 2 month period rather than monthly, because I request at the start of the first month, the end of the second, for example.
I'd kind of assumed that it was working the same way as just any other payment was. Like rep, you get half up front, half at the end. Same thing with stablecoins. I kind of assumed that DXT would be paid half and half, and since we're using XDAI, the cost isn't exactly an issue with creating 2 contracts. I don't know if it is. We can change it, obviously, if it needs to be just one at the end.
Oh, so when you create it, it creates 2 dates for the first one?
Whoa. What do you mean?
I think you guys are talking about different things.
Oh, really?
I think Keenan, like the way I look at the DXT is it starts vesting when your contract starts, right? That's why I put it in my first one. Like if you work at a startup, the vesting starts when you join, right?
Right.
That's how, but I mean, that's just how I've been doing it. I don't know if there's any official statement about it.
Well, I think the problem is that no one's been doing it. So there isn't really a
we haven't
formal
come
way to do this.
We have lots of vesting contracts in the past, and they usually start at the start of the period. And if you look in the details of the proposals, but you don't ask for it until you do the work. So you ask for it once you complete the period, but you start the vesting at the beginning of the period.
Okay, so we can that actually makes things a bit simpler in a way. Yeah, so currently I don't actually in this UI it's not been updated yet, but we have an input for the start date of the proposal. So we can just have all contracts starting from then. But it will still create 2 proposals, presumably. 2 contracts rather, for vesting, one that gets created immediately and then one at the end when it's been complete.
And Keenan, actually, in the spreadsheet that Ali has been working on, when there's been calculating the accounting for that, it has been done at the beginning of the pay period.
Gotcha. I more meant the requesting. I was a bit confused because
right.
You know.
Yeah, I think the sheet is updated through like October. There's some proposals that haven't gone through, but I do agree that we need to get the DXD, the past DXD vesting set. I think it would be great if we could kind of come. We do have this spreadsheet here that is, I think, a pretty good base, and we can kind of get a full approval on what this unissued DXD is. But I think it would be great to have like an outline of what the process will be for people to claim their DXD. And so not something we need to do now, but maybe something we can do over the next couple weeks or month here.
Yes, I think it was something that we talked about previously. There's the option of everyone doing it manually or the just batching option, which I think just goes more in favor of, and I guess does make more sense. We'll just have to have everyone check it because there's going to be hundreds of calls in one proposal, and if one of them's wrong, then it's an issue. And obviously, it's a lot of DXD at stake.
Yeah. We'll need to be very careful. Yeah.
It'll also mean moving a lot of DXD,
like slow down the process.
And so I guess we'll know. We can have a bit more faith in it once it's transferred to me and Augusto our monies. But it should be fine. But we can validate that, just an extra validation before we maybe move over how many hundreds of DXD it is.
What's the main issue? Why so Chris's proposals are feeding in. I get IPFS like getting proposal description, and it often won't feed. What is the solution to that? It becomes unusable if you can't see the text, right?
Do you know?
Yeah, like Chris, can you click on that one? Like that. Like a lot of times they're just like that, right? So you have to go into the link to see.
I'd say create an issue for it, and we'll fix it.
Well, that's been happening since the beginning.
But I think that's IPFS, no? Like sometimes you have the same issue on Alchemy as well.
Yeah, we maybe just need like a refresh button there, or for it to try a few more times. But make an issue for it, and we'll fix it.
Cool. And then just on the quick wallet scheme, there is a proposal. This is to send the funds to the quick wallet scheme. So this is passed. This is in the regular contributor or the funding and voting power scheme there. I did have a question on the timing of the quick wallet scheme. I think there was this proposal that passed that set the boosted proposal period to 3 days. But then I wasn't sure if that was true for yours and Augusto's proposal, because it still looked like that was 2 days.
Yeah, they were made after that one executed, so it should have been 3 days. I think it was 4 completely, so 1 to boost and then the 3 when it's boosted.
Okay.
Yeah, before I mean. So the other important thing is we need to execute the transfer of DXD. I think it's a few hours ahead of me and Augusto's anyway, so that's okay. Or a few hours ahead of mine at the very least. And so we need to execute the DXD transfer first, or else it'll fail and we won't get our money.
Yeah. Cool. So lots of exciting things in the quick wallet scheme here. And this is, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, that even if the worker, if this proposal fail, it has like a month, to be executed. So let's say that Ross and my Ross proposals and mine passes, and there is no funds, and there is not enough funds, right, to execute them. There are going to be a month there to be executed successfully. Once that month passes, if the proposal wasn't executed successfully, it reaches this finality state, right? So even if we don't execute it on time, it is designed to later execute it when the conditions are good enough.
I might be wrong, and maybe it's just the UI not showing this properly, but I'm pretty sure if you try to execute and it fails, if it doesn't have enough funds, etc., I'm pretty sure it goes to rejected, and it doesn't have the option again to execute it.
Well, it shouldn't be happening. I think it should be something on the UI, because we should be able to try again, right? To retry the executing.
Cool.
Well, we'll also find out very soon, because I believe if you take the aggregate amount of what you guys are claiming in your total of 4 proposals, I believe it's more than 25K wrapped XDAI. So we'll find out soon.
Good thing mine passes first.
Even mine, I created another proposal sending 8,000 DAI in wrap XDAI, right, using the native address, the native asset. So that proposal is going to fail. Then it should fail, and we should be able to execute it later.
Cool. Anything else on the quick wallet scheme? I guess Ross and Augusto proposals. And then next one, just a funny proposal. This is the final answer. This is something to do with Carrot. It's a test as using DXDAO as an arbitrator. And so I think the final answer is yes, but this will pass, and we'll be testing the DXDAO as an arbitrator. And then, there's a couple other proposals in XDAI. There's the member balancer to Sky for the XGen that he bridged over. I think it was 35,000 XGen. So anyone that has XGen unclaimed, you can now claim that from XDXDAO. You should be able to do that in your top right on DXvote. I think there's also a way to do it through Block Scout in a batched way. But that's boosted, and the reimbursement was set to pass in 3 days. Yeah, then there's a rep boost. I think that's finally getting cleared after there's been some proposals through, and then there is a reimbursement for Zet that I think had the title a little bit left over from the dummy text, but this is the merchant stipends for hats, for shirts, hats, all of the good stuff we had in Lisbon. And then, yeah, I think there's the Space Inch development work in October. So this proposal is actually a little bit different than the past ones because it was actually submitted by Space Inch themselves. I actually tried to get them to use DXvote, and they got all the way until they found out that a Trezor, they can't submit a proposal with the Trezor. They got an EIP 1559 error. But anyway, they submitted this themselves on Alchemy, and then I staked on it to this. So this is the third month that they've been doing work on Swapper, finishing the bridging stuff, and so this is a payout to them for the month of October. And then I think the last one is a proposal from Keenan, and then a proposal that I assume is from Keenan because it's from Keenan's address, but these are Keenan's worker proposals that he submitted, I think, last night and are slated to boost today.
Yeah, I have a quick comment I left in the governance chat. I think my Chrome did it. I don't think DXvote did it, but my second proposal auto-filled when I was typing it out, and I just missed it. So my second proposal has the same proposal title as the other. They both say 2 out of 2, but the calls and proposal text are accurate, so I boosted them.
So it's interesting it's not even showing up. Your proposal 2 text is not showing up right now. It's just like this. The calls are in like the actual transaction, but not the IPFS content on IPFS.
I think that might happen when there's no title. So this was actually causing an issue in the cache building. The cache doesn't like it and keeps goes into an infinite loop of trying to get something from IPFS that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think it's happening here because this is that one.
You broke stuff.
I have a bad history of breaking our governance.
Keenan's specialty.
Should have known it was you. Well, there might be another one. I was sure it was Chris that made one when it didn't have a title. Maybe
I had that for a multi-call. It was a multi-call for buyback last.
I think that might have been what
broke
the cache update.
I'm not sure if it's because it's local to me, but I definitely see the title on my side.
Interesting. Yeah, it might be because of that. I'm not sure. Okay, and that's it for proposals. Any other thoughts there? Kind of running through a bunch. Awesome, and then just like the discussion items, one, Sky posted a Signal proposal for ETH Denver sponsorship opportunity, and I think we're looking to move quickly on this. I don't believe, Sky, that this actually includes the payment in the proposal, but it, I guess, signals the level of payment there. Yeah, anything to add to this and before you move it to on-chain proposal?
What do you mean payment in the proposal?
Like we're not sending funds. Would we send funds in the proposal?
Well, yeah, we don't have the details of where and when we're sending funds, but we could send the funds like directly from a proposal to pay, which is better than like using, for example, DX Voice. It would be as long as they're okay with the timing. Yeah, if this Signal proposal, if this is supported in the forum, depending on when we do the on-chain proposal, yeah, we could send the funds actually from on XDAI probably directly.
Yeah, and I think there's pretty strong support. I'm just looking at 15 votes support the ETH Denver sponsorship, so that's a pretty strong signal. I need to look at flights and stuff.
I'm still trying to. So there is. we don't know if we can get one of the main sponsor tables, which is in like one area. So if we can't get that, I think it would be slightly cheaper, which they're calling Metal Light, like $2,500 off. And if we can get the table, I think it's the 20K. So it's one or the other, but either way, yeah, we're seeing which one we can get. I think the desire was that we want the sponsorship table if we can get it, which is then the full price that's in there, the 20K. And if for some reason we can't get it, it's slightly cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good we're going to get the signal now. That's the most important thing. And we can kind of work out the details, especially because there's seems to be consensus on it. I think a proposal would be a good thing to point to going forward, both within DXDAO and also for them.
This is one more example of like some of the information is private. Like they don't want the entire like menu of sponsorship stuff like fully public, so we can't make that fully public. If you have questions, you can ask, and we can, show privately. Ideally, things like this, there are other scenarios where we want to pay from the DX Voice multi-sig once we know, but there's this like general, we don't really know how to deal with this, because if we have support in this on the forum, like, do we actually need an on-chain proposal? Like, it's cool to do an on-chain proposal and pay with some of the details. And we've done that with the Opolis crew and the ETH Denver Opolis crew before, so they're familiar with that. But theoretically, like expenses like this could also come out of the DX Voice multi-sig. But a big expense like that, it's good to know that there is general support. But it's like comes down to like, do you pay this out of a delegated like thing that was already approved for things like conferences, or do you do a new proposal with money leaving the treasury? So I think whenever possible, it's okay, and we can put the public information. I think it's okay and we have the right timing. It's better to do an on-chain proposal, just like as standard practice. But theoretically, you could pay this from DX Voice, like squad as well, right?
Yeah, definitely, and it will depend on the situation and the size, obviously.
Yeah.
I know we're running to the top of the hour, so I just wanted one more kind of item to touch on here. Vinky, I think, is on the call but can't speak. He has posted a forum in the forum last week about swapper single-sided staking. So I think this is something we've been talking about for a bit in the Discord and on calls, and I think there's good consensus on this. And he's ready to move forward to a signal proposal. And the discussion was where to do the signal proposal, because obviously with Swapper and Swapper emissions, we're also trying to build up Swapper governance capabilities. So wondering whether this proposal should go on XDXDAO, on XDAI, or through the Swapper snapshot, or both. And I think he was hoping to try to get this up in the next day. So curious to know if people had thoughts on where to get signal for this. I guess it would be the first snapshot proposal, and I think it'd be good, or Swapper snapshot proposal, and I think it's good to start building that out there.
Yeah, I personally think that both are fine if we do on-chain with rep holders and snapshot. If we are to go for just one, I'd be for snapshot. So either way, yeah.
Cool. Any other thoughts on this, or now anything else before we stop recording?